This is the story of a young boy named Barrett and his adventure with his mom at the grocery store. In the lively town of Happyville, there lived a spirited little boy named Barrett. Barrett's eyes sparkled with curiosity, and his heart was filled with a yearning for adventure. One bright and sunny day, his mother, Mrs. Wood, decided to take him to HappyMart, the grandest grocery store in town. As they strolled through the sliding doors, Barrett's eyes widened in amazement. The store was a kaleidoscope of colors, each aisle holding a promise of exciting discoveries. Barrett, unable to contain his enthusiasm, eagerly tugged at Mrs. Wood's hand. "Mom, look, toys," Barrett exclaimed, leading his mom towards the toy aisle. Mrs. Wood chuckled warmly. "Of course, Barrett. But remember, we need to get our groceries first. Stay close, my adventurous one." Barrett nodded with a grin and dove headfirst into the world of toys. Shiny cars, fluffy teddy bears, and board games beckoned to him, sparking his imagination. Lost in the joy of exploration, Barrett failed to notice when Mrs. Wood quietly moved on to the next aisle. After an exhilarating exploration of toys, Barrett decided to check out the vegetables. Skipping over to the vibrant display, he envisioned the delicious meals his mom could conjure. But when he turned around to share his excitement with Mrs. Wood, she was nowhere to be seen. Panic gripped Barrett's heart as he called out, "Mom, Mom, where are you?" Silence. His eyes welled up with tears, and his lower lip quivered. Just as Barrett was on the verge of tears, he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Barrett, sweetheart, what's the matter?" Barrett turned around, and there was Mrs. Wood, his mom, with a warm smile on her face. She had been right behind him the entire time. "Oh, Mom," Barrett exclaimed, throwing his arms around her. "I thought I lost you." Mrs. Wood hugged him tight and reassured him. "Silly goose, I was just behind you. I'm never too far away. Let's finish our shopping together." With a joyful heart, Barrett took his mom's hand, and together they continued their adventure through the grocery store. Barrett realized that sometimes the best adventures were shared with those you love. From that day on, Barrett never wandered too far from Mrs. Wood, turning each trip to the grocery store into a magical journey filled with love and laughter. As they meandered through the aisles, Barrett's curiosity led them to the bakery, where the aroma of freshly baked bread and sweet treats filled the air. Mrs. Wood let Barrett pick out his favorite pastry, and they shared a delightful snack right there in the store. With satisfied smiles, they moved on to the dairy section, where Barrett was fascinated by the array of cheeses. Mrs. Wood explained each one to him, turning their grocery trip into an impromptu lesson on dairy delights. Next, they ventured into the fruit section, where Barrett marveled at the colorful display of apples, oranges, and berries. Mrs. Wood showed him how to pick the ripest fruit, and they carefully selected a variety to bring home. The journey continued through the aisles of canned goods, cereal boxes, and household items. Barrett was a keen helper, putting items into the cart and feeling a sense of pride in contributing to the shopping adventure. As they approached the checkout, Barrett's eyes fell on the candy display. With a hopeful gaze, he looked up at Mrs. Wood. She chuckled and said, "All right, Barrett, you can pick one treat for being such a great helper." Barrett's face lit up with joy as he carefully selected his favorite candy. The cashier smiled at the duo, impressed by the bond between Barrett and Mrs. Wood. Exiting the store, their cart filled with groceries and a newfound treasure of shared memories, Barrett realized that the real magic of the day wasn't just in the toys or treats, but in the time spent together with his mom. And so, in the heart of Happyville, the legend of Barrett and Mrs. Wood's marvelous grocery expedition spread. It became a tale of love, laughter, and the joy found in the simple pleasures of togetherness. Every trip to the store was an adventure, and HappyMart was not just a grocery store, but a place where Barrett and Mrs. Wood crafted the most extraordinary stories of their own.